You know what? Let's face it. Even the most driven and motivated of us can, well, sometimes find ourselves losing enthusiasm for what we're doing and slipping into the productivity doldrums. It's at times like these that we can become demoralized and sort of drift away from our goals. But that doesn't mean that there's no escape. That doesn't mean there's no escape, Doubleton. There's an escape route. Today, I'm going to go over 20 techniques that can get you back on track again. Now, I know I know what you're saying. 20? What the holy hell, right? Don't worry, they're short. They're really short. And for the love of all that's holy, don't try all of these. Get out a piece of paper, pencil, your phone, whatever, and choose the ones that resonate most with you. I'm talking no more than 3 or 4. All right? So with that, let's get started. Remember what got you excited about your goal in the first place. Sometimes we get so busy in the day-to-day tactics of getting the work done that we forget why we're doing it. Take the time to step back and envision your end state and remember why this work is important to you. By doing this, you can revive the enthusiasm that you once felt for the project. Practice the 10-minute rule. If you don't feel like doing something, then, well, commit to doing it for just 10 minutes. That's it, 10 minutes. Now, odds are once you get started, you'll end up going for 10, 15, 20 minutes or so. But the point is, all you're committing to is 10 minutes. And, well, anybody can do something for 10 minutes, right? And if after 10 minutes, you're like, I did 10 minutes, I'm done, fine, walk away. You're done. You've done your 10 minutes. And even 10 minutes done occasionally is better than 0 minutes done never, right? You know what I mean. Make jotting down notes your new form of social media. Social media, there's not enough time to talk about what social media is, but social media is about jotting down thoughts and ideas and posting things that kind of get you excited. Well, keep a notebook or even a note app on your phone, it doesn't matter, and capture your thoughts and ideas as they come to you. Before long, you'll find yourself motivated to take action on these things and actually get to work instead of living, fictionally in social media. Figure out when you are most fired up and schedule your project time around that time. For most of us, there's a time of day in which we feel most energized and fired up to do something totally awesome. By working on our aspirational goals during that time that we're all like totally turbocharged, we can increase our motivation to excel at whatever it is that we're doing. Take a walk and, if possible, in green spaces. Taking a walk, especially in green spaces, can have sort of a restorative effect, improving attention fatigue and helping us recover from stress. Walking can also get the creative and motivational juices flowing quite nicely. So, yeah, a lot of benefits to be had. Commit to reporting out on 2 wins this time next week. Pull out your calendar and make an appointment with yourself. Now, if you can, kind of rope somebody else in on this to kind of create this accountability, that's great. But even if you're just reporting to yourself, commit that you will report out 2 wins this time next week. Now, they don't have to be big wins. They can be small and barely perceptible for all it matters. But the point is a win, and success breeds success. Strive for progress, not perfection. Talking about the wins from our previous one, insisting on perfection denies you of your wins. If only perfect results are acceptable, then you'll always come up short. It's just inevitable. Therefore, expecting perfection means you can't enjoy the small wins, those all-important steps toward whatever it is you're working on, and helps you move forward, making progress against schedule. let go of the guilt. Feeling guilt for slipping behind isn't going to help anything. Now, mind you, I've been on this earth for over half a century, so I know that guilt isn't something you can just switch off. But, talk yourself through it. Who have you wronged? Is it someone else? Then apologize and make amends. If it's yourself, then get over it and move on. You can forgive yourself too, Understand the root of your current non-productive state. It's all too tempting to lay our lack of motivation at the feet of laziness or something equally as self-critical. However, more than likely, it's not laziness at all. It could be you're afraid of taking the next step and so are finding reasons to procrastinate. That's pretty much my stock in trade. It could also be that you don't know how to take the steps and so need to get the necessary skills before you can continue. By figuring out what's standing in your way, you can, figure out how to move past it. Consider the rule of subtraction. I really like this one. It could very well be that one of the reasons you're struggling is that you have too much on your plate and you're feeling overwhelmed, and for good reason. If you're like me, you're always putting stuff on your plate and so forth. It's stupid. But anyway, okay, back to the point. At times like this, the best thing may be to start subtracting goals and refocusing your efforts on those things that can have the greatest impact on your success. It's the idea of opportunity cost. Time you spend on lower return activities is time you can't spend on the high return activities. So you'll want to spend your time as efficiently as possible. Trigger your Pavlov response. So Pavlov, he conditioned his dogs to salivate whenever they heard a bell. Well, you can condition response in yourself as well to bring about your productivity juices. That's kind of a gross thought, but you bear with me. For example, you can listen to the same music when you work. So when you don't feel like working, you can turn on the music and the desire to produce will follow. You can do the same thing with going for a walk or taking a shower. Do something that triggers the desire to be productive, and you'll find yourself working in no time. Set up a measurement and reward system. As the saying goes, what gets measured gets done, what gets rewarded gets done. With this promise in mind, build a system that measures and rewards your productivity. It doesn't have to be anything big or complicated. In fact, the simpler the better. You don't want to introduce sludge into the reward process. In other words, give yourself a new task to get in the way of work. You see what I'm saying? The best measurement and reward system is clear, simple, and, meaningful to you. Be smart. Sit down and write out your goals in a way that is smart, which is to say specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Anyway, if any of these elements are missing or poorly articulated, then it can become difficult to take action against your goal. Determine a specific action and deliverable. Ambiguous, vague goals bring about ambiguous, vague action. I had to do that 4 times to get it right. Beat this by scheduling specific tasks at specific times. Don't just block out an hour on your calendar, label it something nebulous like work. Be deliberate about the task, making sure to make the deliverable clear and specific. Get started with a low-cost activity. Some of our goals are so big or abstract that it's hard to get started. When you come across this obstacle, break the dam by doing something small, something that requires very little investment of self at the moment. This can be things like just cleaning up a little bit, watering the plants, folding the laundry, anything just to kind of get you going. This momentum can then flow into your more aspirational, exciting projects. Try something new. Sometimes the best way to become inspired anew is by trying something new, maybe even a little outrageous, something that breaks you out of your rut and fires you up. It may be that going off the beaten path will get you back on the right track. That's pretty deep. I'm something else. Use input rather than output goals. When you think of something you want to accomplish, odds are you're thinking of the output goal, the outcome. These goals explicitly state a desired outcome. By contrast, input goals focus on the actual work that we need to do to reach the desired outcome. Sometimes when we lose motivation, it's because we're focusing on the outcome, an outcome that's far off in the distance and slowly materializing, and frankly, you can't even really control for. So instead, focus on the inputs, the day-to-day tasks. And, well, if you do this, the outcomes will take care of themselves. Don't overschedule your day. Don't set impossible daily goals for yourself. You may feel obligated to load your schedule up, because you want to feel productive and so forth. But before long, you won't feel productive. You'll feel overwhelmed and find yourself becoming demoralized. Remember that, 1 or 2 things completed successfully is better than 5 or 6 not done at all. Take joy in the journey, not just the promise of the destination. Now, I totally get it. We take on these big, huge projects because we want to accomplish something awesome. Totally, I get it. But by doing so, we can run the risk of becoming myopically focused on the end objective and lose sight of the journey itself. It's the journey that's interesting, that fascinates, that educates, that builds our sense of self and our character. The ending of the story is almost a formality. In fact, if all we were interested in was the ending, then we would only read the last chapter of the book or show up for a movie to catch the last 10 minutes. I'm just interested in the third act. No. I mean, third acts are cool and all, but it's the journey that's fascinating. It is the journey, the story, that compels our attention. I mean, you take Stephen King, for example. He doesn't know how to write an ending to save his life, but we read his books because the journey is incredible. Scrap the whole goal and start again with something new. Not everything turns out the way that we hoped it would. Sometimes we start going down one path only to realize that it's not taking us in the direction that we want to go. Still, it may be tempting to keep going down that track regardless. After all, we've come so far and we've invested so much of ourselves. But if it's not taking you where you want to go, it doesn't matter how far you've gone or how much you've invested. Don't fall prey to the idea of sunk cost if you feel like you're no longer working towards something that matters to you. So there you are. I hope you jotted down a couple of these that kind of make sense to you. Keep them in your arsenal whenever you feel a little bit demoralized, and you'll be back to work in no time. All right? Well, that's all I have for today, so go off and make some trouble, and we'll see you again soon.